Minutes before Prince walked on stage at the 2007 Super Bowl, a stage manager pulled him aside with bad news. It was raining, not a light drizzle, a full Miami downpour live on the biggest broadcast stage in the world, and the song he was about to close the halftime show with was Purple Rain. The producer wanted to know if he was going to be all right out there in it. Prince looked at him and asked one question back: "Can you make it rain harder?" Everyone in that room treated the rain as the thing to survive. Prince treated it as the thing to use. And if you take that one instinct and follow it backward through his entire life, you find something almost nobody says out loud about him. People called him chaotic and difficult, and they had it backward. Prince used discomfort the way a surgeon uses a scalpel, pointed with total precision at the arrangements everyone else in the room had agreed never to question. That is what this video is about. Not the genius, everyone agrees on the genius, the method underneath it. So what did the most gifted musician of his generation actually do with all that talent? Prince Rogers Nelson, the kid from Minneapolis, who by his early 20s could play more instruments better than most professionals play one, used it in a way almost nobody expected. Talent is not the interesting thing here, because plenty of people are talented and almost none of them behave the way he did. The interesting thing is what he did with a room once he was the most gifted person in it. Most virtuosos use that gift to make a room comfortable, to hand people the thing they showed up for. Prince used his to do something stranger. Over and over, he located the unspoken agreement in a situation, the thing everyone had silently decided was just how it works, and he pressed on it until it cracked. Start with the most sacred agreement in all of live music. The concert is a nostalgia machine. You paid for the hits, you get the hits, the artist plays them the way they sound on the record, and everyone goes home happy. It is the single most reliable contract in entertainment. Prince tore it up constantly. He would take a song the whole arena knew by heart and rebuild it into something you could barely recognize. Slower, stranger, stretched into a jam that went somewhere the record never went. Sometimes he would tease the opening of a beloved hit, let the crowd scream, and then walk away from it entirely and play something else. People left some of his shows a little disoriented because they had shown up to relive a memory, and instead they got confronted with a living musician who refused to be a jukebox. Here is what that discomfort was actually exposing. The unspoken deal at a concert is that the audience is chasing a memory, and the living artist on stage is almost incidental to it. What they paid for is the feeling of a song they already love, handed back exactly the way they remember it. Prince found that arrangement insulting, so he broke it on purpose in real time in front of the people who had paid for the memory. He was forcing a question nobody asks at a show. Did you come here for me or for the version of me frozen in a song from decades ago? That instinct did not stop at the audience. It went straight into his own band. And this is where the precision really shows. Prince ran the tightest bands in popular music, and he ran them through fear. The rehearsals were relentless. He would drill a group of world-class musicians for hours, then hours more, hunting for a single note that was slightly late or slightly soft. He hired the best players alive and then made them audition for their own jobs every single night. And he fired people. Famously, ruthlessly, sometimes musicians who were flawless by any normal standard. To an outsider, that reads like cruelty or ego or a control problem. Watch what it actually did. The agreement inside almost every band on earth is that good enough is good enough. The crowd cannot hear the difference between perfect and nearly perfect, so why leave blood on the floor chasing it? Prince refused that agreement. He treated the band as a single instrument that he happened to be playing, and he would not accept a version of that instrument that was slightly out of tune with what he heard in his head. The fear he created in that rehearsal room did one specific job. It dragged a group of humans up to a standard they did not believe was reachable, because they had all quietly agreed it was not worth reaching. And the players who survived it will tell you the same thing. They became the best versions of themselves under that pressure. The tension pulled work out of them they did not know they were sitting on, and most of them never went back to playing any smaller. Which brings us back to the rain. Now you understand why the question he asked backstage was not a joke and not bravado. The producer of that halftime show, Don Mischer, has told the story many times since, still a little stunned by it. Everyone around Prince had spent the day treating the weather as the enemy. Wet stage, wet guitar, live electricity, one of the largest live audiences on the planet, and the possibility of the whole thing collapsing into a disaster. The unspoken agreement in that production truck was obvious. Rain is a problem and our job is to protect the artist from it. Prince looked at that same rain and saw a gift. He was about to play a song called Purple Rain, in actual rain, in front of the world. The storm the whole crew was bracing against was the best stage he could have asked for, and he knew it before anyone else in the building did. So he did not ask them to hold it back. He asked them to make it worse. That performance is now regularly called the greatest Super Bowl halftime show ever staged, because the moment it got least comfortable was the exact moment Prince came alive. That is the whole method in 90 seconds of television. But it was about to be pointed at something far larger than a rainstorm, because the biggest unquestioned arrangement in Prince's world was not on any stage. It was in the contract. If you have never dug into this part of his story, this is the section that reframes everything, so stay with it because the fight he picked next was one almost no artist of his size had ever been willing to have. For most of the 20th century, the music business ran on an agreement so total that most artists never even saw it as a choice. You sign to a label. The label funds you and promotes you, and in exchange, the label owns your master recordings. Owns them. The actual tapes, the thing your work physically exists on, belong to the company, usually forever. The artist makes the art. The company owns the art. That is just how it works. And generations of musicians signed it without blinking because everyone told them it was the price of getting heard. Prince signed that deal young. He became one of the most successful artists on the planet inside it, which is exactly what let him finally see the arrangement clearly. And once he saw it clearly, he decided it was obscene, not unfair. Obscene. He came to see it as a system where a company owned a human being's life's work and could tell that human how fast or slow he was allowed to release it. His response was pure Prince. He did not just complain, and he did not just sue, though there was plenty of legal fighting. He turned himself into a walking piece of discomfort that the entire industry had to look at. He started appearing in public with the word slave written on his cheek. Let that sit for a second. One of the most famous musicians alive, walking onto stages and into cameras with that word on his face, forcing every journalist and every fan and every executive to sit with the comparison he was making. And then he did the thing people still cannot quite believe. He got rid of his name. In 1993, he changed his stage identity to an unpronounceable symbol, a glyph that combined the signs for male and female with a horn, a thing you literally could not say out loud. The press did not know what to call him, so they landed on the artist formerly known as Prince, and the world treated it as a punchline, a pop star gone eccentric. The press read it as an eccentric breakdown. It was nothing of the kind. This was a cold strategy, aimed with total precision. His birth name had commercial value, and that value was tied up in the contracts he was fighting. So he made the name useless to them. If the company owned the work of Prince, then he would simply stop being Prince. He turned his own identity into a hostage. The discomfort of an unpronounceable name, the awkwardness every host felt introducing him, the confusion of every fan. He engineered all of it on purpose. He was making the entire culture live inside the wrongness of the arrangement he was trapped in, until they could not pretend it was normal anymore. Think about the nerve that takes. He was willing to make himself a joke temporarily to expose something he thought was rotten. He accepted years of ridicule as the cost of the point. And in the long run, the conversation he forced open about who should own an artist's work became one of the central arguments in music, and other artists eventually won ground that he had bled for first. If you are getting something out of this breakdown of how one of the great minds in music actually operated, subscribe because the through line only gets sharper from here. And the next two moves are the ones that finally make the whole pattern impossible to miss. Because it was not only the label, Prince aimed the same instinct at the polite rituals of fame itself. In 2004, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame held a tribute to George Harrison, the late Beatle, and assembled an all-star group to play his song While My Guitar Gently Weeps. There is a specific unspoken agreement at an event like this. It is a tasteful, respectful group performance. Everyone plays their part, nobody shows off too hard. The whole thing is a warm collective bow to a legend. You do not steal it, Stealing it would be rude. Prince was standing off to the side for most of the song, almost forgotten, barely lit, and then his solo came and he detonated. He played a solo so ferocious and so alive that it turned a respectful tribute into one of the most watched live music moments of the internet era. The other legends on that stage are visibly grinning because they know what they are witnessing. And at the very end, he takes his guitar off, throws it up into the air, and the guitar never comes back down on camera. It just vanishes. To this day, nobody has a clean answer for where it went. He walked off without a word. He made a room full of rock royalty deeply, wonderfully uncomfortable, and he exposed the quiet agreement underneath the whole ceremony. Everyone there had agreed the job was to be tasteful. Prince showed up to be unforgettable instead, and every person in that building felt the difference in their chest. By the time the internet arrived, he had a fresh arrangement to attack, and this one was the agreement of an entire generation. The deal we all made with digital music was that music should be frictionless, instant, free or close to it, available everywhere, all the time, with no effort. Prince hated it. In a 2010 interview, he flatly declared that the internet was completely over, that it was a fad, that he saw no reason to keep giving his work away into it. He pulled his catalog off streaming services for long stretches. He chased down bootlegs and unauthorized clips aggressively. To a lot of people, this looked like a rich man yelling at a cloud. But look at what he replaced it with, because that is where the intent shows. He would finish a massive arena show and then at 1 or 2 in the morning appear at a tiny club across town and play again for a few hundred people until the sun came up. He would announce shows with almost no warning. He made access to him cost something again: effort, money, luck, being in the right city at the right hour. The frictionless arrangement rested on a simple promise that the more available music is, the more we value it. Prince thought that promise was a lie, that the moment something is everywhere and effortless, it becomes worth nothing to the person receiving it. So he reintroduced friction on purpose. He made you work for it, because working for it was the only way he could get you to feel the difference between consuming music and actually valuing it. He even pointed this instrument at the press. Sit in on the accounts of interviewing Prince, and a pattern repeats. The recorder had to be turned off. Sometimes you could not write anything down at all. You were expected to just be present, in the room, with no device between you and the moment. Journalists found it disorienting and occasionally maddening, because their entire job runs on the agreement that a conversation exists to be captured and reproduced. Prince rejected that agreement too. He was making the point that a real exchange between two people is not raw material for content. It is its own thing, happening once, and the recorder cheapens it. The discomfort he put on that journalist, no notes, no tape, just pay attention, was the same scalpel again, aimed at the same target. An arrangement everyone accepted without ever asking whether it was actually good. Now, it would be dishonest to pretend this instinct came free. It did not. This is the part the tribute reels leave out. Making everyone uncomfortable constantly on principle is exhausting to be around. He burned through collaborators, relationships with people who loved him frayed under the pressure of his standards. The name change and the label war cost him commercial momentum during years when he could have been at his peak reach. He was, by many honest accounts, difficult to know and lonely at the center of it all. The same refusal to accept any comfortable arrangement that made him untouchable on a stage also walled him off from a lot of ordinary human ease. When Prince died in 2016, the tributes were enormous, and threaded through the grief was a quiet acknowledgement that the man had paid for his uncompromising life in isolation. So you have to ask the real question: was any of it worth it? Was this a method, or was it just a brilliant man who could not stop picking fights? Here is the answer the evidence points to, and it is the reason this pattern is worth seeing at all. Every single one of those arrangements he attacked has one thing in common. Each was a place where a group of people had traded away something real in exchange for something easy. The audience traded a living artist for a comfortable memory. The band traded greatness for good enough. The industry traded artists' ownership for a smooth business. The digital world traded the value of music for the convenience of it. Every one of those trades felt normal, felt like just how it works precisely because everyone had agreed not to look at it. Prince's entire life was a refusal to stop looking. He did not chase discomfort for sport. He used it the way you use a bright light in a dark room, to show people the thing that had been sitting in plain sight the whole time, the thing they had trained themselves not to see. Comfort was where all of it hid, and that is why he kept refusing to leave anyone comfortable, which is why the rain is the perfect place to leave him. The professionals in that stadium spent the whole day fighting the storm, trying to keep it from wrecking the broadcast. Prince walked out into the rain and used it. He treated it as the best collaborator he had all night, and all he had to do was stop bracing against it and start playing. Can you make it rain harder? It might be the most Prince sentence ever spoken, because it was never really about the weather. It was about a man who spent his whole life asking everyone around him the same buried question. What if the thing you keep flinching away from is the exact thing you should be walking straight into?